we've all had bad work history. I mean, not we haven't all had. Some of us are perfect, and everything is amazing, and some of us never had any issues with work, and everything's been rainbows and sunshine. But there's a lot of people, including myself, that do not get that luxury. So I wanted to talk about bad work history and some, we'll call them workarounds. And before I start the video, please understand, some people may not consider some of these things ethical. The first one is to focus on the relevant skills. Anything that you consider highly transferable, or like if you were in prison and you worked in the kitchen, what are some things that you did in the kitchen? Obviously, the quality of food isn't going to be the same, but maybe a sense of urgency. Maybe even if it was prison food, there was a quality control. You tried to make it the best gross food that you could. Maybe you were this guy.
Hey, Bunky, lunch is whack today, bro. I'm gonna make a cheesy man wheezy when we get in from yard.
And you were able to throw together some really bomb-ass food using Flamin' Hot Cheetos and commissary food. I've seen some of the stuff that this dude turns out, and like considering the ingredients that he's working with,
Boston.
Totally badass. If you want tips on writing a resume, I am not a professional resume writer. What I will do is by the time this video is published, I will have something in the description and comments on videos that you can go to help you with tips on writing a resume and learning more about ATS format and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that you know how to write a resume, but if you don't, follow those videos, watch those videos after this one, and go check those out. That being said, you should organize your resume by skills and get rid of the actual dates of the employment. And this will serve two functions. The dates of employment will help reduce the chances of being called out on an employment gap. Some people may consider this a little unethical, but realistically, this is an omission from the resume rather than an outright lie, and you are tailoring your resume in a way that if they directly ask about work history, you shouldn't directly lie. Especially if they do things like background checks, they can see some of your work history and they can see that there were gaps. Now, something to know that if you're a felon, if you go and apply somewhere that does background checks, I do not know each state's individual code, but I will say my personal experience, background checks only go back 7 years. So as long as you are outside of that 7-year threshold, it doesn't matter if you spent 20 years in prison. You don't have to worry about it on a background check. Now, whether or not you want to put that you were in prison for 20 years, I am not going to tell you to do that or to not do that or to disclose it or not disclose it. What I will say is do what is in your self-interest and what is legal and what will not get you fired if it becomes uncovered later on down the line. The other thing that getting rid of dates will do, and this applies to me because I have been cooking since I was 19. I've been in restaurants even younger than that, and I am now almost 40 years old. I'm getting to the point in my life where I have so much experience that some of that experience is no longer relevant because it was so long ago. There's so much that has changed, but also ageism really is a thing. I can get away with it for a little bit longer, but if you are older, people will see all of this experience and they are less likely to think about how awesome it is that you have all this experience, and they're going to think that you're just too old for the job. You can't keep up with the young guns. They want new blood. They want fresh blood. So put the relevant experience in there, get rid of the dates. This will also allow you, if you do have, so I have some experience from like 2007, 2008, where I was a production lead. So I can put that relevant experience in there non-chronologically. People fight me on this all the time. I not only learned this in school, but I have heard this from several HR professionals and people that, recruiters and different things like that. Get rid of the cover letter. The resume should be your cover letter. That should be the first thing they see. They look through so many resumes, they don't want to look through any more than they have to, and most of them are not going to spend that long on your resume anyway, and if they aren't immediately impressed by the cover letter, they won't even look at your resume. Make their resume the thing that they look at. Even if you don't put direct dates on your resume for each and every job that you had, and you're not doing it chronologically and you're doing it by skill set, employment gaps can still come up. You may still need to talk about them. If that happens, focus on self-improvement and things that you have been doing to improve yourself that you needed to step away from work in order to do that. Did you do any freelance projects? Did you start a YouTube channel? Turn your employment gaps into a positive and make the best that you can out of them. For me, my restaurant was flooded, and I don't want to say we were lied to, but we were kind of misled at the time frame that it was going to take. And so I hung on and kept my unemployment. And several months had gone by thinking I was going to get my job back, only to find out that my unemployment was going to dry up and they still weren't ready to bring people back yet. I had to go get a new job and now explain this gap in my employment history. Now, it wasn't years, but it was enough. Did you move back home to pursue education? Did you work on personal projects? Did you do any volunteer work? Did you do anything for self-improvement? These kinds of things that you can put in there. When it comes to starting a family and you were a stay-at-home parent for a few years and decided to go back to work, this one might be harder because honestly, there are a lot of people out there that do not prioritize or understand having a family as an excuse to not work. So unfortunately, there might be a place that would reject your resume based off of that. I personally would say if they're going to tell you that being a stay-at-home parent wasn't worthy of an employment gap, you probably don't want to work there anyway. Another thing you can do is work on networking. So people crap all over LinkedIn, but the thing is there are tons of executive chefs, sous chefs. People tend to kind of crap on LinkedIn, but the truth is you really can network on there and do it well. If there is a restaurant X that you want to apply for and you want to get a decent job there, either as a sous chef, get your foot in the door, executive chef, whatever you want to do, follow them on LinkedIn, learn their menu, their location, the history of the place, some of the people that work there, go there to eat. Or just go there and kind of scope the place out. Connect with as many people that work at Restaurant X that you possibly can. Develop some type of networking with them. Then later, when you apply through either Easy Apply or Regular Apply, if you decide to apply on LinkedIn, they will be able to see a lot of this networking that you've been doing with the restaurant, and it might make it a little more likely that they will at least give you an interview. So let's say that you have a lot of diverse skills, we'll say. A lot of it's not restaurant experience. Maybe you were a housekeeper and a general laborer and you tried roofing for a little bit and then you have like an employment gap or whatever. So the way that you can manipulate this on the resume in order to make it look better than it is but not actually lie, think about the skills that a general laborer has that are transferable to a restaurant industry. Hammering nails into studs is not a transferable skill. The long hours that you work, working under pressure, teamwork, communication, organization, there's a lot of things that are transferable over. A lot of soft skills, actually. So during your interview, you can make a business case for why you would be a good fit for a restaurant. You can also make the argument that this shows that you are adaptable to new environments. You have a diverse work history because you are able to learn very quickly and think on your feet, and you can adapt to change fairly fast. And in the restaurant industry, or the food service industry in general, being able to adapt to change is a pretty big deal. Now, this next tip is to show enthusiasm and passion for the restaurant that you're going to be working for. Earlier, when I talked about applying at Restaurant X, watch YouTube videos about Restaurant X. Learn about the history of the restaurant, where it came from, why they do what they do, why they do, say they do barbecue. Why do they do barbecue? You know, what awards have they won? How long have they been in the area? You know, what are some facts about this restaurant that maybe not a lot of people know? And this will make you stand out for sure. 100%. Knowing a lot about the industry, networking with people, explaining your employment gaps, going with a skill-based resume rather than a chronological-based resume, all of these things can help you. Now, I will give some caveats to this. The first caveat is I am not a resume writing expert. There are things that I have told you today that are based off of my personal experience, things that I've looked for in applications or resumes, and things that I feel would be a good thing to try out. However, since I am not an HR professional or a resume writing professional, I cannot in good confidence say that these tips will 100% work, or that some of them may even be wrong. like the chronological one and not putting the dates on your resume, for example, could easily backfire. So this is why I'm going to put this stuff down in the description and in the comments, because I want you to do your due diligence and make sure that anything that I'm saying is backed up by actual facts and people that really do know what they're talking about. I just think everybody deserves a shot, whether you're a felon or a homemaker or whatever other thing that could be negative in your application, in your resume. Now, references. There are a lot of places that will not check any references. And then there's places that do background checks. So if you say you burnt your bridge with a restaurant, you got pissed off, you walked out, and now you have an employment gap, plus you have a negative inference on your resume from a job that you walked out on. You gave them 4 years of your life. I'm not going to get into whether or not you were justified in walking out, but that's what happened. How do you get around this? How are you able to use that experience there without lying and without the risk of getting a bad reference? One thing that you can try is, rather than your hiring manager being the reference, try somebody that you worked with that will vouch for you. Now, this isn't perfect, but what this will show is how you work as a team and what your coworkers think of you. Now, if you were just a horrible, crappy person, I can only help you so much. If everybody hated you and your boss hated you and you just suck, you're gonna have to probably lie on your. Honestly, you're gonna probably have to lie. And I'm not saying to lie. I'm just saying at some point your resume will turn into a turd. And you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. And there's a lot of places and a lot of people that can see through that and see like, oh, this is a polished turd of a resume. If you had a bad experience with a boss, there was workplace bullying maybe, or just a general negative experience, get a coworker to vouch for you and go down the teamwork route. They can vouch for your punctuality and the good things that you did do, the good things that you accomplished. The best remedy for this is to just not burn your bridges. I'm working under the assumption that that ship has sailed. One thing that you can do when you're getting ready to leave a restaurant, say you're getting ready to leave a restaurant right now, absolutely 100% do not walk out. I know that it might be frustrating, but the experience and the ability to put that on your resume outweighs the whatever satisfaction you might be getting. Because I actually seen walkouts as a negative thing, not because of like, oh, you know, the restaurant really suffered, the manager had all these problems when you walked out. I actually see it as your inability to think about what the team needs. Because there are people that like you or liked you that you walked out on that were depending on you. And it's not their fault that the job sucks. Try to avoid walking out altogether. Go cool off. Go take a step outside. Go have a smoke. Whatever. Ask to talk to a manager or ask to talk to your shift supervisor or whoever and handle it that way. One thing that you can do at a exit interview, if you have an exit interview or if you are just talking to, whoever hired you before you leave at some point, whatever the case may be, you can ask them what questions are asked on their reference checks. And then that criteria you can use to go talk to a coworker later and be like, look, this is the kinds of stuff that they use on their reference checks. Where does my advice end? If you were violent with other coworkers, if you stole, you walked out and burnt your bridges, if you did something bad at work, harassment. I do really hope that if you're in one of these positions that you are able to find something. I'm hoping that some of these tools might be enough to help you at least land a cook job. I would say your best bet, if you did something bad, you were being workplace bullied and you beat the crap out of somebody, I can just say what I would do if I was still at least interested enough to talk to you, work out like what happened. I will be looking for honesty. I would rather you be honest with me about somebody that you socked in the mouth and show accountability for what you did. I'm more likely to hire that person than somebody that lies to me or somebody that tries to make themselves sound like they were a victim and everybody was out to get them or whatever. And honestly, you want to work for a person that is willing to give you a shot based off of your honesty anyway. If you have any tips as somebody that had bad work history and was able to land a job, let me know in the comments. If you are an executive chef or somebody higher up, what kinds of things have you been willing to either, we'll say overlook, but really I mean like kind of give people another chance? Where's your red lines? Let me know. I want to start a conversation down in the comments. Let's try to help some of these people kind of get up out of the dumps and get their life back on track and get a job doing something that they love to do. Otherwise, there should be a couple videos blooping up right about now. If you liked the video, let me know with a thumbs up. That lets me know to continue making content like this. This is actually how I went from making recipe videos to things like this, is because more and more people seem to gravitate towards these soft skill videos. So you guys vote with your likes. If you want to see recipe videos, that's what you thumbs up, and that's what I'll make. I want to do what helps you grow as a cook, and if soft skills are what you need, then that's what I will provide. Otherwise, you guys have a wonderful, amazing day, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.